If I told you there was a metal unibodied phone with a 18:9 aspect ratio that performs pretty good and takes pretty darn good pictures, would you purchase this for $200? That's the question we're going to answer today because we're looking at the Honor 7X, a very popular and very hyped budget device that's on sale now. But does that mean it's a good phone? Does that mean it's for the masses? We're going to answer that question today because I'm Alex of SipNoTech and this is the Honor 7X review. The eye-catching distinguishment for the 7X is that 18:9 aspect ratio for the $200 price point you are paying. But there is definitely more in this budget phone than just the screen. Inside the aluminium unibody holds a high silicone Kirin 659 chip with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. There is micro SD card support for added space as well. And like all Huawei and Honor phones, the 7X runs a custom skin running Android Nougat called EMUI version 5.1, which we've taken a look at often on this channel. I personally have grown used to EMUI, and you can adjust the settings to make it more of a traditional Android experience. Options are good, especially for the budget field. But going back to the screen, Honor is calling their 18:9 screen a full view display, which in layman's terms translates to a 5.93-inch 1080p IPS display that has thin bezels on the sides. Viewing angles and color reproduction are perfectly acceptable and are actually quite good for this price range. Entertainment things like videos and games are pretty good, and the speakers hold up with that bottom-facing speaker. Something else that is really good for the price is the build quality. We're very aware that Chinese phones have been providing solid budget builds for years now, but never have they been easily accessible in the Western markets. This is sold on Amazon, Best Buy, and basically every electronics e-commerce. The only budget aspect of the hardware is the use of micro USB instead of USB-C. Although, as I said before about this phone, I do suspect most potential buyers looking at the 7X are coming from a micro USB phone anyway. It's one extra cable you have to carry for those who have made that switch to USB-C with all their other electronics. The fingerprint scanner is located a little bit on the high side of the rear of the phone. I have to alter my grip just to hit it. It is rather accurate and fast to unlock though. The 7X also has one set of fingerprint gestures that allow you to bring down and up the notification shade. Little features like this that it shares with its more expensive Huawei siblings makes this phone feel a little bit more expensive than it really is. Now the Kirin 659 performs nowhere near where I expected it to, even when considering that this is a $200 phone. Apps are noticeably slow to load and multitasking is near impossible on this phone. This is one of the few phones I've used in the last couple of years which have fully locked up on me multiple times and forced me to do a hard restart. If you have absolutely nothing running in the background though, the 7X actually has passable performance in comparison with mid-rangers, which is a level above its pay grade. These mixed results creep in with the dual cameras as well. Like many of the Huawei produced phones, we have a 16-megapixel f2.2 sensor accompanied by a 2-megapixel one that lets you do some neat things with the aperture. Oh, and they look like googly eyes popping out of your phone. The camera and gallery apps are slow to launch a majority of the time. What you see here is already considered fast through my usage. Even clearing up available RAM doesn't seem to speed things up for me. This is a big letdown, seeing as the results of the photos are really good. I was extremely impressed with the photo quality the 7X produced. Landscape photos in optimal lighting are sharp and detailed with rather cool true colors. I'm going to have to say this is probably the best phone camera in the $100 to $300 range that I've used in a couple of years. It falls short in low light situations and the selfie camera adds a bit too much processing, but overall this was a very reliable camera. Another thing that was surprisingly reliable was the 3340 mAh battery, which lasted me for about 14 to 15 hours a day. I took the 7X and pushed it to its limits on my recent trip to Hong Kong, and it kept up, at least in the battery life department. Almost 6 hours of screen on time, which by my standards of usage is very good. And the last couple of notes before I wrap up the review is that the Honor 7X doesn't have NFC. Most budget devices don't though. I've been using Google Pay at ATMs and stores recently, and ironically, in Hong Kong where mobile payments are a huge norm, I brought on the trip the one phone to test that did not have access to it. So coming into the Honor 7X review, I was pretty excited about this phone. For $200, I heard a lot of good things. I try not to, sway my mind towards the device before using it, because a lot of people's reviews might not match what my experience is with it. So I tried going with a clean slate. And when I unboxed this, I was actually really impressed with the build quality. Initially, the performance seemed pretty good until you had multiple apps open. And then when I was going through my suite of apps and my daily usage of it, it locks up a lot. There was a lot of slow downs and just a lot of little issues that we talked about in the review. And for $200, I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe it's forgivable. But I realized I review a lot of phones, and this $200 price range, there's other phones out there in the global SIM networks that you can use, like this one. This is actually a relatively new phone too, the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus, which I'm going to review next on the channel. And I've spent some time with this now after spending time with this. $194, $199. I'm going to do a separate video after this review, after this Xiaomi review, and we're going to compare these two together, sub $200 phones. And I have to tell you, it's night and day. One is much better than the other. And I just had to make that statement in this video for you guys to know. If you are really considering 7X right now, at this moment, before I have this review out, I just want you to know that there are other options out there that, in my opinion, perform better than the Honor 7X. So I don't normally tell you guys not to buy a phone, but I'm going to tell you guys not to buy a phone today. Do not buy this Honor 7X because you should buy the Huawei Mate SE. I know it's confusing. The Mate line sounds like it's a really expensive line, but the reason you should buy that is because it's exactly the same as the Honor 7X. It's a rebranding of this phone. Instead of saying Honor, it says Huawei. And it's the same internal specs except for two things. It has 1 extra gigabyte of RAM and additional storage, more storage than what the Honor 7X has. For $20 more. For $20 more, that really is not much you pay for an upgrade. It should be a no-brainer. You pay that extra $20 more for 1 extra gigabyte of RAM and supposedly better performance. It should give you better performance than the Honor 7X. So if you're dead set on buying the Honor 7X, don't buy the Honor 7X. Buy the Huawei Mate SE. It looks the same, it feels the same, it just has slightly different internals for those two categories. So don't buy this, buy that one. That's my opinion of the Honor 7X. Be sure to subscribe because, like I said, we're going to do a lot of comparisons in this sub 200 price range. There's so many great phones out there. Blue just released the Vivo X. There's a lot of great sub $200 phones around that $200 range, and we're going to compare them and take a look at them. So be sure to subscribe for that. Once again, I'm Alex at Hypnotech, and I'll see you guys next time.
If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, hit the bell button below so that you don't miss a single video in the future. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!